Hi guys, welcome everyone. Let's begin with this webinar. My name is Sudhanshu, okay, and this webinar will be regarding how to start your career in Cisco VoIP and collaboration domain. Plus, I'll be discussing some common things that people have in mind when beginning their career into collaboration, or sometimes people who are already into some other networking domain, but they want to begin into collaboration. We'll discuss all those points. Okay. So to begin with, let's first discuss the agenda or what you can expect from this webinar. Okay. Initially, I'll discuss what is VoIP and collaboration. Is there any difference, or where did VoIP come from? Okay. I'll discuss this from like traditional point of view. What came before VoIP? What is VoIP a replacement of? Okay, and this I'm going to discuss because I know some of you who are joining this webinar, maybe they are, they don't really have knowledge about VoIP, okay, and this will give you a solid understanding of base, okay. Then we'll talk about how to start your career into VoIP, as in where to start from, okay, what to look for, what to expect, okay. Some Cisco VoIP products, I'll discuss those just so that you have a basic idea about all the products that Cisco offers, okay. And that will help you into when somebody is discussing about CCNA collaboration, or the Cisco certifications wise, what all is there, okay. That will help you out in better understanding of what is covered in what part of the certification. Okay. Then we'll discuss recent trends in Cisco VoIP, or like where is VoIP heading towards. Okay. Next, I'll discuss job profiles and career. What kind of work responsibilities do you have in VoIP? Finally, we'll end with a Q&A session. Okay. You guys can feel free to chat in the chat area, okay. I'll take all the questions later, okay. So let's continue, okay. So what is VoIP, okay? So VoIP, as the official definition of a lot of books, or I should say pages like Wikipedia say, is VoIP is used for delivery of voice communications and multimedia sessions over internet protocol networks, okay. So now when you begin with this VoIP, a lot of times people feel like, okay, what was before VoIP, okay, how did VoIP come into picture, okay. When you talk about networks like before convergence, okay, and I'll discuss what is convergence as well. When you discuss, when you go back into the history, you realize that basically initially there were these three different separate networks, okay. There was like, let me start a screen share, okay, so that I can draw stuff, okay, and you can see it. Okay, I hope you guys are able to see this, okay. So long back when there was no internet, okay. Before that, even there was something which VoIP is replacing, okay. So basically there were three different networks. One was a voice network, okay. This voice network included stuff like basically all the landline telephones that we used to have. I hope at least I have some people who remember these landline phones. And this voice network, we used to call it PSTN, technically, public switched telephone network, okay. So the thing is, we still have it, okay. It's not like it has gone away, okay. The PSTN is the network which has all the landline phones, and now it has more mobile phones, okay. So this was a separate network, okay, and people used it to just call each other, okay. and there was this data network that we call internet, and it had limited bandwidth capabilities, as in we had all the routers, switches, okay, servers and everything in this data network, and people used to call it, or people still call it, internet. Okay, and even there was a video based separate network that people used to use, like you might have seen a lot of television people having these big dish antennas to transmit their video live feed from one place to another place. So my point, the whole point here is that these were three different networks. Okay, one was voice, one was data, and the video network, satellite TV and everything. This was all three different networks, and the data network had limited bandwidth. Okay, like I remember from my childhood days when I used the internet the first time, the internet was very slow. Like if I had to download a 1 kilobyte file, okay, I used to just start the download and then go away, do something else for 10-15 minutes, and then it got downloaded. So I'm talking about that time when there was limited bandwidth in the internet, and all the networking equipment even had limited bandwidth and capabilities. So slowly what happened was our data network, or the internet, or all the networking, that routing, switching stuff that you see, okay, this exploded, okay, technologically, and they got more amount of bandwidth, they got better network devices, and then people thought, okay, okay, suppose this is a business having one of its office, and there's another office B, okay, office A. They thought, okay, we have this wonderful IP based network, okay, connecting these two sites. Why not use voice over IP? Like, instead of making calls through PSTN, these were through two different links. Okay, so instead of going through PSTN, let's instead go for voice over IP and route our audio packets over this IP based network between these two sites, so that people can call each other. And yeah, sometimes people who have less knowledge of VoIP, they'll say this is free call. Okay, so that is where VoIP evolved from. Okay, and if you talk about this, okay, so basically you had PSTN, okay, traditionally, and then we had for businesses, okay, who had multiple phones in their offices. Okay, and this is the traditional phone. Okay, don't think of this as an IP phone. Okay, so this is a traditional phone. Now, one way to implement things in a traditional scenario was like, okay, let's get 3 landline connections from the service provider. Okay, but the issue with that is, if I try to call within my office from this phone to that phone, okay, since the call is routed by the service provider, they'll charge me per minute basis, right? They'll say we routed the call, so give us charges. So instead of this, people thought, let's not use them for call routing, let's get our own box. Okay, that box they called as PBX. Okay, and what they did was they connected all their landline phones onto PBX. Okay, and its name is Private Branch Exchange. Okay, so basically there was PBX. This was an intelligent device. Okay, it could be configured that, okay, this is like a port number 1, this is like a port number 3 and port number 3. You could configure call routing intelligence. Okay, people coming from IP based world, just think of it as configuring static routes or IP routes. Okay, we could configure call routes as in, okay, if somebody dials extension 2001, send the call out port number 1. Okay, If somebody dials 2002, send the call out port number 2. So this phone rings. Okay. So this way, people used to use PBX. Okay, and they used to have their own call routing agent. Okay. Now question comes, okay, how do they get to the outside world? Because they have to call other landline and mobile phones and stuff. So they used to have this connection to PBX. There was analog connection, just like the way we have the landline cable coming to us, that RJ11 wire that could be directly connected to PBX. And in some more call intensive environments, people used to go for T1 or E1 digital connections. Okay, but now I'll not go into what is T1 and E1. Okay, because that will take it completely out of the scope of this webinar. So point is, people used to have this voice network in their businesses, landline phones, call agents and stuff, and this is what we replaced. Okay, this is what we replaced. We basically brought in IP phones. Okay, I'll draw IP phones using yellow. Okay, we brought in IP phones, and these IP phones, they have an RJ45 port, just like you can connect a PC. Okay, just like that you can connect an IP phone to your regular switch. Okay, and then the question comes like, okay, where is their PBX? Like, how do they know where to route the call? This is where I'll discuss later some products like CUCM and CUCME and stuff. These products basically, or these servers, are used to control this. Okay, now this is what we are replacing PBXs with. Okay, we are replacing PBXs with IP phones and the complete VoIP infrastructure. Okay, I hope I've made my point clear as possible. Okay, so basically there were, before convergence, these were 3 different networks: voice, internet, okay, and video. So after convergence, it became a single unified network carrying all the different types of traffic. Okay, so moving on, question comes, where did this word collaboration came from? And to be frank, I personally don't like this word. Okay, this is a word that Cisco coined, but as a marketing term, it's kind of a marketing term. Okay, I would have preferred if they had called it purely communication or something else. Okay, how did it become collaboration? Okay, people moved away from voice. If you have been following Cisco from some time, you might have known that earlier people used to call these certifications like CCNA voice and Cisco voice products. Okay, there was no collaboration word. Okay, then Cisco came up with this collaboration word. Okay, like this sounds a marketing word because it's like your employees can collaborate better. Okay, which is fine, but if you talk about why this collaboration came in, okay, people these days, when you talk about IP-based network, they don't use just voice calls. Okay, they'll use all sort of different other stuff like IM, okay, instant messaging, very popular way to communicate these days. Okay, I've seen youngsters these days, they don't want to call each other. Okay, they just want to text each other. So employees can text each other. Okay, so instant messaging was included. Then people started making video calls. So again, this is something going away from this just voice call stuff. You can see real-time status. Okay, presence is something like when you use any form of instant messaging application, a lot of times you see people as like online. Okay, or you see status as they are typing. Okay, that is presence. Presence basically, if you go into the basic definition wise, it is like ability or willingness of somebody to communicate. Okay, so people see real-time status of each other. Okay, then there is stuff like voicemail. People leave voicemails for each other. Okay, when they are not available for calls, and even contact center industry boomed a lot. Okay, during the era of VoIP. Okay, so when you add all of this stuff to the voice calls, you cannot call it like, okay, you know, we are just studying voice related stuff. Okay, or we are not just deploying VoIP related stuff or voice. Okay, that's why Cisco thought of, you know, renaming it, taking it away from voice to collaboration work. Okay, personally communication would have been better. Okay, but like I'm not the person who will decide, so that's the word that we'll have to move on with. Okay, next let's talk about like, okay, you know, okay, I want to begin my career into VoIP. What should I start with? Okay, basically if you talk about VoIP, okay, I'll tell you there are multiple vendors making products for VoIP. Okay, and out of them, broadly there are two types of vendors. Okay, one type of vendor is people like Cisco. Okay, vendors like Cisco, and what I mean by Cisco like vendors, these people, they were not making PBXs. Okay, they were not making this PBX and traditional you know, voice call setup stuff. They were purely IP networking organizations who used to make routers, switches. Okay, and then they jumped into voice over IP. Okay, the second type of vendors that I have found in VoIP products, the companies who make the OEMs who make VoIP products, are who come from the traditional background. Okay, like who used to make these PBX, and then they somehow, you know, just added a small bit of functionality of voice over IP into their existing PBXs. Like, you know, you can think of it as like, okay, if some company is developing a PBX, they may be added a module into it which can be configured for an IP address, and then they said, okay, you know, it's our VoIP network. So if you talk about these two types of vendors, okay, one who are coming from the IP background, okay, and another who are coming from the traditional background. Okay, so IP background people, they deployed and they developed their products from ground up such that you need to have knowledge of how IP works, then only you can properly understand the voice part about it or the collaboration part about it. Okay, if you talk about the traditional companies, I don't want to name any particular vendor, but like a lot of vendors who came from the traditional background, what they did was, since they added just a basic functionality, a lot of times I've seen people having no IP knowledge. Okay, like zero knowledge. They are working and day in day out maintaining VoIP products of these companies. Okay, a lot of these companies who are coming from the traditional background have gone away. Like, you know, they've been killed by the competition. Okay, and that is something, you know, I want to clarify before I jump into this. Okay, if you are particularly talking about Cisco VoIP, okay, this is very important. Okay, I'll tell you why. Okay, a lot of configuration, okay, I'll tell you that it is configured on a router. Okay, a lot of configuration, I would say like sometimes 20 to 30% of the configuration required for a call routing is done on a router which runs iOS. Okay, people who are coming from the routing switching background, okay, they already know this. So Point is that if you are less familiar with iOS, don't expect that you will be able to cope up with the configuration of voice. Okay, so this is very important to begin with. Okay, like next question comes like, okay, this is a very vague statement, basic networking knowledge. What do you mean by basic networking knowledge, right? So by basic networking knowledge, I mean you should know how to configure the routers, the basics of router. You should know the basics. Okay. Plus, you should know IP addressing, the subnetting. Okay. You should know TCP/IP model. You should know VLAN, DHCP, some basic protocols which are covered generally under networking fundamentals portion of CCNA route switch. Okay. And I'm talking about the routing switching part. Okay. So you can think of this, the knowledge that you will require for this, it's kind of like 1/3 of CCNA. Okay. There are some selective topics that you will need to understand before you jump into the next stuff where you will purely go towards VoIP. Okay. Now the thing is, uh, which topics I think I've covered. Then next thing what we can begin with is CCNA collaboration. Okay, this is kind of like the entry level training that people go through. Okay, I've seen a lot of times people getting hired from college campuses. Okay, and companies, they give them training for like 2 to 3 months, just the basics of VoIP, and then they give them a job on floor for maybe modifying configuration on these servers that I was talking about. Okay, so beginning, you can start with CCNA routing switching. If you go through complete CCNA routing switching, it's a good thing. If you can go through at least some part of it, I'll tell you which part you can ignore. Okay, straight away you can ignore routing protocols. Okay, most commonly I've seen there is some routing string guy who will be managing all that for you when you come as a VoIP engineer. Okay, there will already be people who will be managing that for you. Okay, so you can totally skip routing protocol section. Preferably go through the switching section, because ultimately we have IP phones connected on a switch. Okay, and since we have IP phones connected on a switch, a lot of times I've seen voice engineers, they don't really understand, like okay, why my phone is not registering, and that is because of some misconfiguration in the switch. Okay, so to start with, okay, CCNA collaboration. Okay, what is CCNA collaboration? Okay, so in any CCNA, I'll tell you. Okay, in any CCNA of Cisco, what Cisco does, they'll basically introduce you to the products in that particular track. Okay, they'll introduce you to all the common products found in that particular track. Like if you go for CCNA security, they'll introduce you to firewall, VPN. Okay, similar to that, they followed the same thing here. If you go through CCNA collaboration, they'll introduce you to a lot of VoIP products, like namely I'll cover and come to this, like what all products are there. They'll cover some basics of servers of CUCM, some Unity connection stuff. Okay, some voice gateway stuff. Okay, and some IM presence stuff, and then they'll finish off the CCNA collaboration. Okay, so next question comes. Okay, how much knowledge does a person get out of completing all of this? Okay, once you complete all of this, okay, networking knowledge and CCNA collaboration, what you will be able to do is you will be able to manage IP phones on the servers that Cisco gives for companies, okay, the servers that are deployed in the companies, okay, like CUCM, okay, you will be able to manage the basic things. You will not be able to do complete from scratch deployment, but existing operations or existingly deployed stuff you can manage, so that you can day in day out do a lot of move add change work. Okay, move add change is something where you on a daily basis add some IP phones, because people are all the time leaving organization, joining organization. So there is always need to fine tune some things in the phones. So some basic things, that is what you can expect the knowledge level after CCNA collaboration. Okay. Next, let's talk about Cisco VoIP products. Okay, this will give you further insight into all of what I was trying to tell you. Okay, and there is CUCM. Okay, Cisco Unified Communication Manager. Okay, and what they have done with this CUCM is, this is a server-based solution. Okay, and this server is virtualized in VMware environment. Okay, so what you do is you go and get a VMware ESXi server. Okay, if you don't know it, don't worry, so there will be again some VMware engineer helping you out with virtualization of stuff. Okay, it is better if you gain some knowledge and some basics, so that you are easily able to communicate with that guy. Okay, so basically this will be a virtual machine running within a VMware ESXi environment. Okay, and the main point or the main job of this server is to control these IP phones. Okay, when you talk about these IP phones, okay, just think of them as dumb terminals. They don't know anything. Like if you say, okay, I'll make a call from this IP phone to that IP phone, you cannot do it directly using just the phone. Okay, so phone doesn't know anything. Okay, all the call routing intelligence is here in CUC. Okay, you can think of it as the person who will be responsible for all the call routing. Okay, so whenever a phone goes off hook, like you lift the receiver or you go on speaker, whenever you go off hook, okay, this phone goes to the CUCM server and tells CUCM like, okay, somebody went off hook, what should I do? And then on instruction of CUCM, it will play you dial tone. So you can guess from this point that how much an IP phone is dependent on this CUCM server. Okay, so you can just think of this will be the main brain who will be telling IP phones what to do, what not to do. Okay, when to ring, when not to ring. Okay, so your phone goes to CUCM, and when you punch in those digits, like, okay, suppose the number for this is 2003 and number for this is 2001, and you're trying to make a call from 2003 to 2001. Now, as soon as you go off hook, each time you punch in this digit on the keypad, like 2, it goes to CUCM. What should I do? And CUCM is the one who is collecting all these digits, okay, so that it can check in its database, like, okay, which IP phone has this particular directory number. Okay, and once okay, 2001, okay, because it will be dialing 2001, right? This guy has a number of 2003, it will be dialing 2001. So once it finds an entry in its database, okay, it will have each IP phone has a MAC address. Okay, so it will have an entry, corresponding entry matching to the number that was dialed, like 2001 belongs to the IP phone having MAC address A. Then CUCM will instruct this phone to ring. Okay, and that is when you hear this phone ringing. Okay, so basically you can think of it as if I go in easy terms, CUCM will be the matchmaker. Okay, who will be you know, getting all the digits, collecting all the digits from the calling party, and then, you know, making the called party ring, and then finally, you know, connecting their, making them exchange their IP addresses and RTP port number so that their audio can go forth. Okay. I hope I've made CUCM clear. Okay. And there are different versions of it. Okay. The current latest and greatest version that is being used is 12.x. Okay. And more common version is currently being used in production environment is version 10. Okay. Next, there is a product called CCNA. Okay. And anytime you hear this E, okay, most of the times this E will be Express. Okay. So Cisco Unified Communication Manager Express. Okay. And what this CUCME is actually, it's something like, okay, you bought a router, an ISR router. Okay. Cisco says, give us some extra money and you will be able to run your VoIP network out of just this particular router that you are buying. Okay. So what Cisco goes for is, they have added this call routing intelligence into this router. Okay. So the same thing that I was talking earlier about CUCM, the server based solution. Okay. Same things can be performed on a smaller scale by this particular router. Like, it can control IP phones. Okay. These IP phones will be going to one particular router where they are registered. Okay. And it can make phones ring, it can get them connect their audio with each other. Okay. So what's the main difference? This is for small businesses where you have less number of IP phones, and this is for larger businesses basically. Okay. Question comes, okay, how large? Okay. Usually if you deploy one of the server with all the full RAM and CPUs, you can have 10,000 IP phones being controlled by one server. Okay, obviously for redundancy purposes, generally people will go for at least 2 servers. Okay, so you can get the idea. Okay, question comes, how small for CUCME? Okay, CUCME, generally people go for, I've seen around what, 50 phones max. Okay, 50 to 70 phones. Although Cisco will say their highest ISR router supports up to 400 IP phones, but I've never seen anything like this being deployed. Generally, the more number of IP phones a company has, more business critical VoIP becomes. Okay, so they don't want to rely on just one router or 2 routers for making their VoIP network run. Okay, so they'll preferably, if they have more number of IP phones, they'll preferably go for a CUCM kind of product. Okay, instead of this router based solution. Okay, that's the second product. Okay, so we discussed CUCM, we discussed CUCME. Okay, this is server, this is router. Okay, now next there is Cisco Unity connection. Okay, this is a voicemail solution. Okay, and again it is a server based solution which is virtualized in VMware environment. Okay, again ESXi. So you virtualize Unity connection. Okay, and it gives you the functionality of voicemail. Okay, what is voicemail? If you are not aware of that, when you call an IP phone, suppose you I call this IP phone, and this IP phone, the user is not here, okay? The user is not here, so obviously no one will pick the call. So then you can route the call to voicemail and get the audio of the person who is calling connected to the Unity connection server, so that he hears the greeting like, okay, so and so person is not available, leave your message after beep, and then you leave whatever you want to say to that person. Okay, so all of that voicemail will be saved in the hard drive portion of the Unity connection VM. Okay, so it has also some other functionalities, but for beginners I'll not try to go into that. Okay, I think Unity connection is clear as well. Okay, so next there is something called IMN presence. Okay, CUCM, sometimes people like to call them CUCM IMN presence. This gets confusing, preferably IMN presence. What you mean by that is, for people who want that instant messaging, that chatting functionality in their enterprise network, what they can do is they can go for another server, IMN presence server, and again this is virtualized in VMware ESXi environments. Okay, so once you virtualize into VMware ESXi environment, the functionality that you get is you can have a Jabber client. Okay, you can have a Jabber client running onto a PC, which will be basically signaling and communicating with the IMN presence server. Okay, so suppose a user here, okay, tries to chat with the person here. Okay, then this guy will be sending a chat message. The chat message will basically go to the IMN presence server, which will forward it here. Okay, what is Jabber? Jabber is basically your end client which users use. Okay, um, just think of this as a messenger like thing. Okay, uh, the messengers that we regularly use for chatting, it in itself doesn't have any kind of functionality. Like, if you just plain run Jabber, it cannot get you done anything. Okay, until you combine the server which interacts and which makes this chat go through between two computers. Now, uh, common question people have is like, can I run it on smartphones? Jabber is the end client is available for almost all the most common endpoints that we use. So it's available for Android. Okay, it's available for iPhone, iPad, and Mac, Windows. Most common platforms it is available. Okay, fine. Next, we have voice gateways. Now, when you talk about voice gateways, uh, this gets a bit confusing for even people who have been traditionally into voice. Okay, see, like I told you in the beginning, PSTN, Public Switch Telephone Network, it's still not gone away. Okay, we still use our mobile phones. We still are connected to the PSTN. Okay, so if there is this organization, okay, who wants to have this functionality of IP phones getting able to call these mobile phones, then what you need is basically you need some form of connectivity to PSTN, right? For that purpose, what you can do is you can have a voice gateway. Okay, and in Cisco world, again, a voice gateway is basically an ISR router. I hope you are now getting like why I was saying like basic networking knowledge is important and very much required. Okay, because when you go for the CUCM, okay, CUCM connected on a switch, okay, phones, CUCM, everything fine. But when you are going to route your calls on mobiles, you need configuration on this voice gateway. Okay, you need configuration on this voice gateway, which is an iOS based device, to route your calls out to PSTN. Okay, so we bring the traditional links and connect them onto a voice gateway. In actual terms, a router. Okay, you buy a router for this. Okay, I hope you are clear about the basic thing about voice gateway. Okay. So that's pretty much it about Cisco VoIP product. Okay. Next, let's move to like the basic information, like what all things do we have in CCNA, CCNP, CCIE collaboration. Okay, because CCNA collaboration is where people begin with. Okay, so if I talk about the product wise, okay, in CCNA collaboration there is two things. Okay, CICD and CIVND. Okay, so CCNA collaboration having CICD and CIVND, what does that mean? Again, like I told you, in CCNA collaboration they basically introduce you to CUCM. Okay, if you talk about CICD, earlier it used to be called CCNA Voice. Okay, so if somebody has gone through the curriculum of CCNA Voice, suppose there's a voice engineer who has gone through the content of CCNA Voice, they don't need to go through CICD content. Like 90-95% of it is same. Okay, so all the CCNA Voice, okay, they renamed it and rebranded it to be named as CICDA. Okay, what all is in there in CICD? Okay, what we have is basically there is basics, some CUCM. Okay, there is some basics of CUCME. Then there is some Unity connection stuff. There is some voice gateway stuff. Okay, so basically, like I said, they introduce you to all the topics. Okay, all the common, and they have thrown in some IM and present stuff as well. Okay, so they introduce you to this, all these different products, and then they finish it off. Okay, so what's the learning outcome that I have mostly seen? People working in Mac team, okay, who will on a daily basis move, add, change IP phones related configuration on CUCM, CUCM, and all this. Okay, so on a daily basis they'll probably change directory number. Earlier maybe this was 2001, now they named it to something 2009. Maybe the old employee got left the organization. So sometimes there are speed dials that need to be set on phone, so those things can be done. Some features can be configured. Okay, that is the kind of person you become after you go through CICD. Okay, so kind of a basic entry level VoIP engineer guy, that is what you become after completing CICD. Okay, and earlier they had CCNA video. Okay, there was just before collaboration, these were two different things. Okay, they had CCNA Voice, they renamed this to CICD. Okay, this is the same content or similar content they had in CCNA video, they named it to CIVND. Okay, so these two things combined together become CCNA collaboration. Okay, so what all is in CIVND? Okay, this is a module which is focused on telepresence a lot. Okay, telepresence, what is telepresence? If you don't know it, you might have seen those video conferencing rooms where there is a very big screen and there are motorized camera and people sitting on the table here and having those meetings with full HD resolution, talking to people across the world. Okay, that is telepresence. Okay, they discuss all, starting from very nitty gritty stuff like, uh, even stuff like, okay, what kind of lighting should be in the room, okay, uh, uh, what should be the acoustics like, okay, uh, and then they jump into some basic telepresence devices of system, okay. So this I've seen most people still, okay, if you talk about the trend, telepresence is not like, something which is deployed very commonly, or it, or if I, rephrase my statement, a better statement would be, telepresence is something which is still a rarity among a lot of organizations, okay. What I've seen mostly is there is a huge demand for people who have the knowledge of CI/CD, okay, and because by human nature I have seen very less people, okay, and I'll give you a thing to check, okay. uh, Go ahead, if you're working, ask people in your organization how many people want to do video calls with their colleagues, okay, and from what I have seen, most people still don't want to do video calls with their colleagues, okay, and until unless it is a telepresence, okay, a video call, they don't want to go on a video call, they just want to go on an audio call and get things done, okay. So there is a, if you compare these two, for this knowledge, huge demand, less demand for this particular knowledge. So I've seen a lot of times people who are beginning, they sometimes go for just this kind of 1/2 CCNA collaboration of CI/CD, and they start with their job. They easily get a job. Okay, this is more important if you have telepresence, and if your manager wants you to day in day out manage the telepresence, you very much require this thing. Okay, I think CCNA collaboration is clear. Okay, and next, if we talk about CCNP collaboration, okay, there is CIPT V1, CIPT V2, okay, C apps, and CT collab. Okay, there are these 4 modules or 4 books if you are less familiar with the way Cisco does their certification. These are 4 modules, 4 exams that you have to go through in order to get your CCNP collaboration. So CIPT V1, okay, this is focused on CUC, okay, and even CIPT V2, it is focused on CUC. So what's the difference? This focuses on basically the single site deployment of CUC. Okay, single site deployment of CUCM meaning everything, there is just one site, CUCM is there, IP phones are there, and there is no other site. Okay, so you learn all the basic functionalities and some of even advanced functionalities of CUCM, but you don't talk about, look, okay, how do you route calls between 2 sites, okay, and what kind of environment, what kind of challenges you face in that, okay. So CIPT V2, if you talk about that, this discusses a lot of it about the multi-site CUC, okay, like if you have 2 CUCM clusters here, okay, then how do you route calls between them, what are the challenges that you can face if you have 2 sites having same direct numbers, what do you do, how do you fix it, how you should manage, like music on hold, okay, in multi-site environment, okay. That's the major difference between CIPT 1 and CIPT V2, okay. And then they have included some functionality and some knowledge about quality of service in here, okay. So that is included in this module. Along with this, they discuss voice gateways in this. Okay, and they discuss protocols, H323, SIP, MGCP. That is discussed, or how you can configure. Okay, if you are less familiar with these words, don't worry. If you are R&S guy, think of them as the main core of VoIP. Okay, just like you guys have your EIP, RPU, SPF stuff. Similar to that, you can think of them from layman perspective. Okay, so very important stuff for a voice engineer to know. Then CIPTV2 discusses multi-site CUCM, plus it discusses some telepresence related stuff as well. There is some telepresence related stuff as well. Okay. If you talk about C apps, Cisco applications, this discusses Cisco Unity connection. Okay, and it discusses IMN presence. Plus it discusses, there is another CUE. Okay, I didn't discuss this, but this again, just think of this as a scaled down version of Unity connection. Okay, for people who have less number of voicemail requirement, voicemail accounts requirement, or they don't want functionality which Unity connection can provide. Okay, because again, Unity connection is something, your one server can handle something like 20,000 voicemail accounts. Okay, that's huge. Okay, if you talk about CUE, you can think of this as kind of like the go along product with CUCME. Okay, a lot of times people buy CUCME and CUE together. Okay, so they discuss these three products in CApps. Then there is CT Collab. Okay, this is basically the T-shoot module. Okay, T-shoot of collaboration. Okay, in this they discuss logs of these messages or these signaling protocols, H323, SIP, MGCP. Okay, so they discuss these. Plus they discuss like phone registration issues, what are the common troubleshooting, how you should start with the troubleshooting. Okay, and that's pretty much it, I think, about CCNP collaboration. Okay. Lastly, what we have is we have CCIE collaboration. Okay, and if you talk about CCIE collaboration, they kind of focus on all of these products. Okay, CUCM, CUCME, Unity connection, IMN presence, CUE. Okay, there is a contact center product, a UCCX. Okay, a call center solution, small cell contact center solution, that is also covered in CCIE Collab. Okay, like then you can expect to be asked questions about these stuff, plus voice gateways and CUCM, CUE. What else? Yeah, they have added this Cisco meeting server. Okay, that has been added in CCIE Collab version 2. That has been recently changed. Okay, so basically, again, just like any CCIE, there are two exams. There is written exam and then there is lab exam. Okay, written exam is theoretical, as in you get subjective questions. Objective questions. You get objective questions and you have to select options. Lab exam, it's a 8 hours lab exam. You go to Cisco office for this. Okay, no questions asked. They give you tasks. You get the task done. You get the points. Okay. I think let's come back to next. Let's discuss about the job profiles and career in VoIP. Okay. So if if you look at this job profile stuff, okay, uh, these are the common designations, okay. But again, you know, I've seen beginning people go through something called MAC team kind of work, okay, in which basically they'll go through this you know basic phone addition, deletion, configuring of features and all, okay. uh, then they get access of some more complicated stuff, okay, or some more advanced stuff of COCM, okay. So these are the different profiles, okay. If you have more experience, then uh, people get more access to COCM traces, okay. What is COCM traces? COCM traces is something, think of it as a log file, okay. A very big log file, like 10 MB text file, okay. People use that for troubleshooting, okay. And yeah, if you are more experienced into stuff, then definitely you can become maybe a SME, subject matter expert. These are the common job profiles that you will find. Okay. Finally, let's talk about if you might have questions around. Okay. Please scroll the chat window. Maybe I can find out some questions that people have already been asked. Okay, Buddy, I'm not sure about how to pronounce your name. Sorry for if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Uh, I am a beginner in networking. I want to start my career. How can I start my career? Uh, See, if you're a beginner in networking, start with your routing switching. Okay, gain your basic routing switching knowledge. Be good in fundamentals. Okay, and then start with collaboration if you want to begin with Cisco VoIP. Okay, and one second. There is Aaron asking questions on, do you offer training on collaboration? Yes, we at I-MEDITA offer collaboration training. Okay, is it available online? I am based in Egypt. See, Aaron and everybody else. Uh, if somebody has to train you on collaboration, the training can be delivered online. Okay, because you can have soft phones that can be shown to show functionalities of what to do on IP phone, and you can have I can share screen, or anybody who is training, they can share screen to show you where what is being configured. The only thing that is a challenge is to give somebody else remote access of all the stuff. Okay, and the problem for that is because it's difficult to control phones remotely. Okay, I've seen people have different soft clients or different softwares which control the phones remotely, but personally I'm not a fan of any of these softwares. Okay, I've seen preferably if you have phones in front of you when you're learning, that is the best. Okay, so yes, training can be delivered. Okay, there will be a challenge regarding your practice. Okay. Okay, Gurpreet is asking about what are the recent trends in VoIP. Yeah, sorry, I missed that point. The recent trends, okay. Uh, Now, see, when you talk about the recent trends in uh, collaboration, okay, the most common trend these days is uh, people are moving towards soft clients, okay. So, since people are moving towards soft clients, uh, I have seen people removing these kind of hard IP phones and getting Jabber-like clients. Cisco has introduced Cisco Spark. these kind of clients have been introduced into the smartphones, because see, nobody wants to have an additional cost to get an IP phone on each desk. Okay, so no business would prefer that. Okay, if they can get a soft phone on the end client. Okay, again, but that depends on the scenario. So one of the recent trends is people are moving more towards the soft clients. Okay, and the other trend I have seen is people, or I should say Cisco. Okay, once again, even Cisco and some other vendors, they have started with the kind of collaboration solutions for which you don't need to buy the infrastructure. Okay, uh, like Cisco people, they try to call it hosted collaboration solution. Okay, and a lot of times you will see people talking about HCS. Okay, what is HCS is, it is basically Cisco has collaborated with a lot of service providers. Okay, and those service provider, like suppose this is a service provider. Okay, they will deploy CUCM, all the hardware of server, VMware, everything in their environment, and they'll be giving you kind of collaboration as a service. So suppose this is a business who wants to go ahead and deploy Cisco VoIP. What they can do is they can skip buying all the servers, CUCM licenses, upgrades, and everything. Instead of that, they can kind of get these services from a service provider. What is the main advantage to a business going with this solution? The upfront cost is less. Okay, because you don't need to spend a lot of hefty amount buying servers. Okay, and buying networking equipments. Okay, you will kind of get like a monthly bill. Okay, which you can so basically initial cost can be reduced. Okay, so a lot of businesses have been adopting this kind of model. This is one of the most growing trends. Okay, if I talk about, these are the two things that I wanted to talk about, like soft phones or soft clients and HCS. Okay, this is basically allowing businesses who have less budget and they want to they want to get advantages of all the VoIP and stuff. They can have that through hosted collaboration solution. Okay. Okay. I don't know. Chimeka asks, does one need to learn all of these VoIP products before starting on a job? See, you don't need to learn all the VoIP products before starting on a job. Yeah, if you go through CCNA collaboration, you will be introduced to all of these VoIP products. Okay, most of these VoIP products. Okay, since on a beginning job, most commonly I've seen L1 level people managing stuff on CUCM. They get limited access where they can just open pages of CUCM where they can manage phones related and some basic features configuration. So yeah, it depends on where you want to start from, but most commonly you don't need complete knowledge about all the VoIP products. Yeah, if you have a basic knowledge about most products, it will be easier to discuss things in team. Okay. Lanesh asks, what is scope of UCCE? Okay. See, UCCE, okay, great product. Okay, UCCE stands for Unified Contact Center Enterprise, and it is kind of a suite of solutions. The scope, or I should say career prospects wise, it is a good thing. Okay, It depends on where you are. If you are in India, I can tell you like there is a lot of projects where there is demand for people who have basic knowledge of UCC. Okay. Uh, yeah, there is good scope. What else should I cover in this? I don't know. Uh, Pratik asks, does Cisco WebEx come under collab? Okay. Uh, See, Cisco WebEx, if you talk about certification track wise, doesn't come under any collaboration certification. Okay. WebEx is mostly used by people by just logging into their browsers. Okay. So if you talk about that, you don't need any kind of voice engineer to manage that. Yeah, if you host WebEx into your premises, if you have hosted, servers and stuff for that, then again, this is something covered under specialist certifications if you want to go ahead with that. CCNA collaboration NPI doesn't cover Cisco WebEx. Okay, Raja asks, CUCM is available in hardware. Okay, CUCM is available in hardware as of starting from CUCM 10. Cisco stopped, stopped people from having boxes where there is no virtualization. So, if you talk about the most common deployments these days, you can have it virtualized in VMware ESXi environments. Like I can say, like 90% of the people using these days Cisco VoIP, 95% maybe will be having it virtualized in VMware ESXi environments. Okay, so there is no CUCM box that you buy, basically no hardware. Okay, you get an ISO image, you get licenses, you install, you get an OVA file, and you install it in a VMware ESXi environment. Second question from Raja is it possible to configure voice gateway in firewall? See, this is an interesting thing. Even I am looking forward to. Okay, as of now, there is no firewall that supports the voice gateway functionality. Even Cisco doesn't make a firewall which supports voice gateway functionality. Although, if it would be very good if firewall vendors jump into this, because I've seen, firewalls these days, next generation firewalls, if you talk about, they have a lot of stuff, okay, in them. They have a lot of functionalities. Like this additional functionality, as far as my knowledge is concerned, I think can be integrated, but till date there is no firewall having voice gateway functionality. Okay, Aaron again. So, do people really buy CUCME for their VoIP network? I have been working with Cisco VoIP for 2 years now, and I have not found any project where CUCME was deployed. Okay, I think you're working, Aaron. You're working for a big organization, okay? Because usually I've seen projects where CUCME is deployed. Okay, it's not like CUCME is not sold from Cisco. Okay, see, it is a small business product. Okay, if you go through that and if you try to understand that, no small business, like imagine this, like okay, suppose I have a chain of medical stores, suppose people who sell medicines. I have 10 of these stores. Now I want them connected through WAN, and I want IP phone functionality on each of the medical stores, so that if medicine is not available at one store, calls can be made. Okay. Now this sort of person will not go for a very big corporate organization for their VoIP project. Okay, they'll probably have one guy, somebody who will be managing everything for them. Okay, either like that, or if they go, they'll have a kind of a AMC contact with somebody, again a small organization. So I think since you said you have been working for 2 years and have not found any project where CUCME was deployed, you won't find if you work in just big corporate environments. Okay. Yeah, you could find some freelancing projects where CUCME is being deployed and somebody requires your services for that. Okay, Christopher, before collaboration, do I need to have any networking knowledge? I think I have covered this already thoroughly. You need network basics. Okay, you need switching, a solid understanding of switching. Okay, routing protocols you can ignore. You can do 1/3 CCNA. That's what I'm like. Thomas, when new batches are starting, I think you can get in touch with the team using the contact information for that. Rohit, does anyone get trending cloud and virtualization knowledge in collaboration domain? See, cloud and virtualization knowledge is not covered in collaboration domain because it's kind of like, see, virtualization is a domain of VMware. Okay. And if you talk about even Cisco, okay, Cisco has this data center track where they talk about UCS servers and all the virtualization on UCS servers. So if you talk about the collaboration track in CCNA collaboration, NP collaboration and I, you won't get any knowledge about cloud and virtualization till date. Okay. Jagdish, how the Cisco systems are superior than Avaya or Genesys? Why Cisco? Okay. See, if I answer this in the stuff that I was earlier talking about, okay, like I told you, there are two types of vendors into VoIP. Okay, Avaya, if you, and I'm not saying like Avaya, nobody buys Avaya. Avaya is still, I think, still in leaders category. Okay, Genesys contact center, a very good solution, not known much for general IP telephony and stuff. Okay. If you talk about Avaya, the thing that I personally don't like about Avaya is a lot of their products, they come from that traditional background and they don't have a lot of easy functionality like Cisco. Okay, I'll tell you the biggest advantage of having a Cisco systems VoIP product is I've seen their web UI, their user interface, which people use or a network administrator or voice engineers use for administration. That is very easy. Okay, since they have created this very good UI, I've seen if there is a voice engineer who has a choice of choosing between Avaya and Cisco, lot of times they'll recommend their managers to go for Cisco just because it makes their job easy. Okay. If you talk about like, okay, functionalities wise, more or less all of them have these basic functionalities that people most commonly require. Okay. So if you talk about, Cisco systems are superior than Avaya or Genesys, in contact center there is a war between Genesys and Cisco. In IP telephony, Genesys is not anywhere. Okay. Aaron, when your net batches are starting, Aaron, okay, contact. A recording of this will be available. Yeah, it will be available on YouTube. Okay. I think you guys will be getting a mail for that. Okay, it was a good seminar. Thank you. My doubts are clear. Okay. Fine. I think everybody has their doubts cleared. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining. Okay. Still, if you have any query, you can shoot a mail to this same email ID, info@I-MEDITA.com. They'll loop me in. Okay, if there is something that requires my knowledge. Okay. Thank you so much for joining.